No. So, hi everyone. So today we're going to speak about list curation with dodges and tokens. So list curation is everywhere in web too, but mostly handled by centralized parties. If you want to set up a platform to sell goods, you need to curate the good to display. You need to verify that they are in the right category. You need to verify that they are not offensive, that they are not illegal. You don't want to send a drug on your centralized marketplace. Forum post. A forum post is basically an item in a created list of text which are not violating the rule of this forum, and it's dealt with a generally centralized moderator. When we go to Web3, when we don't have any centralized operator to our system, we still need to deal with content curation. And because we won't be able to deal with it with moderator, we'll deal with it with crypto economics. So we want to make a list of dodges, of image of this dodge meme. We can let anyone add an item to this list by putting a deposit. So Alice submits a dodge, Bob looks at the image, that's fine, nothing happened, so the item is accepted, and Alice gets back her deposit. But now, if Alice tries to, if Alice tries to submit an image of a cat, Bob can notice it's a cat, put a deposit to challenge this cat, and then it goes to a dispute resolution system. If this dispute resolution system rule it's an invalid image, Alice loses her deposit, Bob gets a reward and his deposit back, and a part of the deposit is used to process the dispute in the dispute resolution system. So dispute resolution system can be everything. It can be one centralized party, it can be a multi-sig, or in the case of Kleros, it's a DAO. So it's a DAO with randomly drawn juror. The first problem when we draw people randomly is that you can have someone registering thousands of times to get 1,000 chance of being drawn and getting most of the votes in the system. So we cannot draw people because we don't have an efficient way to verify unicity of people in the system. So we can draw tokens. So here you have A, C, E, and G drawn as juror, and they're going to be able to cast a vote and get paid arbitration fees. We now have a second problem, which is how to make people vote honestly. So if we just pay a juror when they cast a vote, they could just put a bot voting randomly or take bribe. They would not need to look at images, and they would not need to spend cognitive resource to give rulings. So to avoid that, we use some shilling coin mechanism where if you vote coherently with the other juror, you win tokens, but if you don't, you lose tokens. So here, the juror on the top voted against Bob, voted that the dodge image was valid. So they won a few PNK, while the two on the bottom, they lost a few PNK for being incoherent. So even if you're honest, once in a while, you're going to lose some token. But overall, if you're dishonest or voting randomly, you're going to lose way more token than if you are effectively looking at cases and giving informed ruling. So that's this shilling coin mechanism. So I let you all think about one number you want to pick, and your goal is to pick the same number as a majority. So think about your number. Okay, no, people who saw about 1,000, please raise your hand. Okay. People who saw about another number, please raise your hand. So it seems that we have around 60% of people 1,000 and 40% of people giving other number. So you could have all won by saying 3,785, but 1,000 was standing out. So in the case of a Kleros and just shilling coin system, what stands out is the truth, is the honest ruling. Even if we don't have the label, it will seem that the payout matrix is completely symmetric, that all the options are similar, but when you get the ruling, you know that if Alice put a picture of a dodge, you should vote for Alice because the other people are going to think that you're going to vote for Alice, and they're going to think that the other are going to think that the other are going to think that they're going to vote for Alice. In practice, people do that up to 3 levels of reasoning. So to test all of that with a low stake, we created Dogecoin Trial, which is a crypto economic experiment. We gave a few Dogecoin to people submitting Doge, and we gave some ETH to people submitting cats getting accepted to incentivize people to try to attack the system. We got more than 1,000 images. Most of them were Doge pictures. We got 100 or 200 of picture challenge. Most of the time, picture which went to dispute resolution were not picture of Doges, even if the majority were picture of Doges, because challenger, they do their work first, and they most of the time only challenge picture of Doges or picture which can be a bit fuzzy. So even when you don't use the dispute resolution system, the simple fear of the dispute resolution system is helping you to make the user behave in an honest manner. So you can see example of image who made up into the list. And you see that there are all Doges here. You can see a few images who did not make it into the list, mostly because it was cats trying to get the reward for putting cats. So what did people do? So people started with quite naive bribes, where they promised bribe by adding text to the image. So we got Tristan, and he promised 0.3 ETH, but he just made a promise on the image, so no one trusted him, and even worse than that, he had someone who was not even a juror asking the bribe to be paid and trying to scam the attacker, so that was quite fun. We then got slightly more advanced images where they were linking to an address showing they had the fund, but still no proof that they would be paying effectively the bribe. But that was just because it was basic attack. You can do way better attack because you are on the blockchain, you can make smart contracts, and if you're a malicious party, you can make a smart contract which are going to guarantee the juror that they're going to be paid the bribe if they vote for what you want them to vote. So that seems to be quite dangerous. And even more dangerous is the P-perception attack, which is very dangerous, at least in theory, because it has a zero cost. Like if it succeeds, the attacker do not even need to pay any bribe. So the principle is you want the juror to vote for Y. So you say, okay, if you vote for Y and the majority vote for Y, you get Y, which is the reward in the system. So you're good for it. But now, if you vote for Y and the majority votes for X, I give you P plus epsilon, so a slight amount large, so slightly more than P. So now, as a juror, you can see, okay, if the majority votes for X, and I vote for X, I get P. But if I vote for Y, I get P plus epsilon, so it's better to vote for Y. Now, if the majority votes for Y, and I vote for X, I get 0. But if I vote for Y, I get P. So I should vote for Y, and then everyone votes for Y, and then Y is a majority, and the briber gets his result without paying anything because people get paid by in-system incentive. So from a theoretical perspective, that was quite scary for us. So that's why, even if none were organic, we made a P-perception attack ourselves with smart contracts enforcing those bribes. So they were way more efficient than the naive bribes, but still not efficient to turn ruling the opposite way. I think at worst, we got perhaps 1/3 of the jurors accepting bribes, but most of the jurors, even when given bribes that they would have been certain to get if they trust the smart contract, choose not to take the bribe. So we can ask why do people don't take this bribe, even if it would be in economic interest? So one reason is that it has a high cognitive cost, because you need to understand that this bribe works, you need to verify the smart contract, and that can take you a lot of time, and you value your time. One other reason, which was sometimes explained by people who answered us, was that they value honesty. So if at the end of the day you get few more cents by being dishonest, you may not be happier than if you were honest, slightly less cents, but you have a better vision of yourself, you have a better self-esteem because you take decisions which are aligned to what you think. it's also about token economics. We also had people who claim, oh no, I'm not going to take bribe even if I could get money from it, because if I take bribe, I'm going to weaken the system. If I weaken the system, I weaken Kleros, I weaken the value of my tokens, and so I will weaken my own economic value in the long term. So I think here it's a quite interesting way where tokens are useful to align the incentive. Because here, the token value is linked to how people with the token behave. So if you behave in a bad manner, you impact the value of your own holding. But even if it may not be rational for one individual, because they may get more bribes than what their token value would be impacted, it can still create some kind of group effect where they are part of this token or like this crypto, this project, and choose not to attack the project they are part of. Other interesting cases, we got dodges in the Venetian sense. So Leonardo is the most famous dodge of Venice. And it was first submitted, and juror rejected it. But then, submitted with a label, all the jurors accepted Leonardo into the list. So that's quite interesting, because we can see that either the juror got evidence, so the link to Leonardo, they could type that on Google and verify that Leonardo is a dodge in the Venetian sense. So either they got extra information, so they then concluded it was a dodge, or perhaps more interesting, they knew it was a dodge from the beginning, but they voted no because they thought that the other people will not think that it was a dodge. So it's also important because if you don't have enough evidence, the juror may underestimate the capacity of other jurors and give wrong ruling, even if they know that what the honest ruling should be. This is still kind of fuzzy because other dodges, less famous, still got rejected. Yeah, so sexually explicit content. That's something we did not really expected, but if you do a TCR, put a rule to avoid sexually explicit content. And even if those sexually explicit images were, in theory, okay, and part of a dodge image, they were rejected by the juror. So that's also interesting because we saw that the juror ruled on the spirit of the question and not on the word-to-word of the question, and that's some kind of debate which could slightly be linked to the DAO hack debate with people where, no, that's the question, you should answer the question, and no, that's obviously not what they meant, so you should reject those images. We also saw some emergence of case law with image of dogs with dodge feature, but not the right color, where at first they tend to be accepted, rejected, accepted, and then they tend to be accepted all the time. So we saw that jurors look at previous cases to make the decision in the future. We also saw that they detected maliciousness because images with cats and dodge, either because both of them or because they speak the dodge way and feel dodge, were rejected because they were obviously made to try to get the reward of putting a cat. Even if the reward policy will not give reward for image with both cat and dodges, that may have confused some people. And if you see picture of dodges, which are other animals, they got accepted, but dodges and cats did not get accepted. This image is quite interesting, not really from cryptography's perspective, but just from fun. Like, what is that? What is that? No, it's a cat. So it got accepted because no one challenged it, and the guy had to give us the another angle of the image to convince us it was actually a cat. So yeah, at some point, if even human cannot determine it, that this image is legit or not, no cryptoeconomic mechanism will be able to give you the right result. So the only image which obviously passed around the cryptoeconomic mechanism was this image, which got accepted because it never got challenged. So all the images with challenges of cats were rejected, but this one was just never challenged. And we cannot really have something which is 100% secure, because if the system always rejects items that should not belong to the system, people are going to stop post malicious items. And if people stop posting malicious items, people will stop checking for malicious items. And if people stop checking for malicious items, then people can post malicious items. So you can see this matrix of payouts. And you can see that none of the pure strategy leads to an equilibrium, because if no one does anything, you should commit crime. If you commit crime and it gets verified, you should not have committed crime in the first place. And if you verify and there are no crime, you should not have verified, because you should not have spent your cognitive resources verifying. So that's a simplification with two parties. In practice, you have multiple poster and multiple verifier like crypto police. So we're gonna always end up into a mixed natural equilibrium where we're gonna have a part of images which are gonna be accepted, even if they are wrong images. And then you can tune parameters to determine what ratio is acceptable, depending, and also taking the cost into account. That's the no crime, no police, crime, police, police, crime. We got some quite interesting feedback about the whole experiment, about notion of truth. So some people already got into it. And we even got some people doing some machine learning using the Dodge and trial dataset, and concluded that they will probably be able to make AI jurors. So okay, dodges are fun, but that's an experiment. Now let's go to something perhaps slightly more impactful on the ecosystem, even if I really like dodges, which are token-token created registries. So using cryptoeconomic mechanisms similar, we can make a list of tokens. Because current list of tokens tend to be made by centralized party, they quite often get them wrong. As you see, if you look at PNK, you see most of them are fake tokens meant to scam people. They managed to scam for about $500 worth of fake token. We can see that on Parity, we had people putting tokens which were giving a balance to everyone in the world, so showing in everyone's wallet, like SIM, and for some even having offensive images. If you look at Uniswap, they put some token at first, but nothing is modified because it's a decentralized exchange, and you need to be able to update token and add a new token to those decentralized product, either centrally, but you have a problem, or by a cryptoeconomic mechanism. So that's why we made this token-token created registry with similar incentive. So Alice puts a token, gets accepted. She puts another token, it gets accepted. So at the first level, we just verify that the token name, address, ticker, and symbol are matching. So you can even submit scam at this point. But then what we can add is badges. So we can add a badge stating that this token, Decentraland, is satisfying some criterion for an exchange, and it's going to be added. But if you try to add it to a token which is a scam, it's going to get challenged, and with similar mechanism, you prevent this token from getting badges. So this is all the new listing system of Etfinex is going to work, where they will pull data from this token-token created list, and then select randomly some of them to be voted by their community. So the final vote is still on the community, but using this registry is a way to filter most of the tokens which are not interesting to put to vote. So you can see a few screenshots of this token-token created registry, which is going to be live on mainnet tomorrow. Tokens, adding, submitting a token, badges, and the new juror front, where juror can rule whether the information is correct or not. So thanks everyone, and we're going to go to the question. Any question?
Hey, it's on. I wonder what role lawyers might play in the system. A lawyer, do you have provision to have a lawyer in the process to make a case for any one side of an argument?
Oh, no, you don't need any lawyer. Anyone can challenge listing that they believe are incorrect.
Not necessarily just for this, but in general in the Kleros value proposition. If I have a complex case that's not so black and white, how am I going to present that to the jurors?
So currently, I've never seen anyone using something which would look like a lawyer service, but there is nothing which will prevent people from paying people to present the case in a good manner, give interesting evidence, and you could even make smart contract such that you pay this lawyer, and this lawyer get paid only if you win the case. You can make a smart contract for that. That's not something which has been done, but that's something which could have been done, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting talk. What do you think is the reason for that one image to pass through and not being challenged, the one with the shark and the cat? What do you think was the reason that it just went through?
So it's at the beginning, we got a lot of submitter and a lot of people looking at the list and challenging malicious images. But after some point, people kind of gave up, like seeing that they did not manage to put any cat in it, because you need to put a deposit. So they were losing real ease by putting fake images. So at some point, people look, oh, we have like 100 pictures of cats, they all got rejected. I'm not gonna try my luck. So they stopped posting these images, and then if there is no images anymore, that's not interesting to look at the list to get the reward, because you get the reward only when you challenge a malicious picture and you win your dispute. But if there is no malicious picture, you have nothing to win. So you have this kind of like crypto police problem, because the crypto police is not paid fixed fees, they are just paid bounties when they manage to find out malicious items. And if there is no crime, there is no police. And then if there is no police, there is no crime. Oh, there is crime again, sorry.
Thank you. So what's the source of randomness for drawing jurors, and how does that protect from, let's say, having a 51% attack or whatever else, where someone accumulates a lot of tokens?
So on the source of randomness, it's currently using block hash. Block hash is not a perfect source of randomness, but it cannot be completely set to a particular value. So this means that if you're a miner and you mine a block which leads to a random number you don't like, you can choose not to publish this block, waive the block reward, waive the fees, to basically reroll the dice. You also have cases when you have heads of similar lengths, such that as a miner you can choose on which one to build. And in this case, you have the choice between two random numbers. So that's the two problems with block hash. But all of them can only allow you to reroll the dice extremely rarely or at a high cost, but they can never allow you to fix it to a particular value. So even if you can reroll the dice, unless you have almost the majority, you won't manage to get the majority of the juror rounds. So that was on the randomness, and on the randomness, it will also be moved to a verifiable delay function when those verifiable delay beacon will be finished. But for now, that's still under heavy research by the Ethereum Foundation. And on the 51% attack, one of the major protection against 51% attack is that if you 51% attack, you break the system. So you break Kleros, you break the value of your token, because if you 50% attack, you have to have 50% of the tokens. So that has a really high cost to you to do this 50% attack. Because on this case, that's this curation. If it gets attacked, people are going to stop using it, or they're going to switch to a clone of the system which are not attacked. And the honest minority can fork the system into a new Kleros, removing the stake of all the dishonest attacker to make a new court which is honest. So you can attack it with similar security assumption like Ethereum proof of stake. Like you can buy 50% of the ETH staked and attack Ethereum, but if you do so, you're going to destroy the value of all your ETH and you're going to have a fork, and that's going to probably not be economically interesting for you to do so. So similar protection as proof of stake. Thank you.